Last week's deadly flash flooding in central Texas, the president there looking at the damage today.
When tragedy strikes, what truly defines a leader's heart? Genuine compassion or calculated political gain? Right now, across the flooded plains of central Texas, thousands of families face unimaginable loss. Lives swept away in seconds, homes reduced to rubble, children separated from parents in the chaos of nature's fury. It's heartbreaking, an entire community submerged beneath water and grief. So when President Trump arrives on the scene, walking amidst survivors, shaking hands, and offering promises of federal aid, we're naturally drawn to wonder, is this heartfelt compassion or strategic optics? It's uncomfortable, isn't it? This idea of questioning sincerity during a disaster. But we can't ignore how often tragedy has been used to shape a political image. Over 129 lives lost, more still missing, dozens of young lives taken too soon in places like Camp Mystic. Yet, beneath the heartache, a quiet suspicion lingers. Can genuine compassion coexist with careful stage management? When the cameras flash, capturing the president's solemn expression as he consoles grieving families, are we witnessing authentic empathy or simply a carefully constructed political narrative? I invite you, just for a moment, to set politics aside and look at the human faces behind the statistics. Mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers, real people with real stories, now forever altered by catastrophe. If the president's visit truly sparks hope and healing, it holds immense value. But if it's just another move in the political chess game, aren't we diminishing the sacredness of their loss? So let's ask ourselves honestly, in times of crisis, should leadership transcend political calculation? Or has compassion simply become another currency of power? As we reflect deeply on these flooded communities, our answer matters, not just for today, but for every disaster that inevitably follows. When disaster strikes, history holds a mirror to the present, offering us moments of clarity or sometimes uncomfortable questions. Do you remember Hurricane Katrina? Thousands stranded on rooftops, crying out for rescue. President Bush flying overhead, his eyes fixed downwards from the comfort and safety of Air Force One. America watched, hearts heavy, as questions about empathy and leadership echoed loudly through the aftermath. Then came Hurricane Sandy, battering the East Coast, leaving families displaced and communities destroyed. President Obama, sleeves rolled up, wading through flooded streets, wrapping arms around grieving residents. Was his presence genuine compassion or savvy political theater? We can't help but revisit these moments now as President Trump walks through flooded Texas streets. History doesn't repeat itself exactly, but the echoes are undeniable. Leaders find themselves tested, their motives scrutinized. Is this real empathy or simply politics at play? We instinctively want to believe leaders care deeply, that they carry the weight of people's pain. But history reminds us compassion and politics often blur together. Each crisis becomes a stage, each decision amplified under the public eye, judged by sincerity or lack thereof. Bush's distant gaze haunted his legacy. Obama's hands-on approach solidified his. Now, we watch Trump closely. Will his actions ring with the authenticity of true empathy, or will history remember this as calculated posturing? These comparisons aren't meant to diminish genuine gestures of care, nor ignore sincere leadership. Instead, they remind us of something essential, that tragedy isn't merely a backdrop for leadership, it's a profound test of humanity. It reveals what truly drives a leader, whether politics overshadow compassion, or if true compassion rises above politics. As we look through history's lens today, we must thoughtfully consider how we judge sincerity, because history itself will remember how we answered that question. As we watch President Trump move through the devastated flood zones, every gesture he makes carries weight. Each handshake, each comforting word, each promise echoes deeply into the hearts of those who've lost everything. But beyond appearances, what truly matters are actions and intentions. When Trump reassures grieving families, promising swift federal assistance, are we witnessing genuine empathy, or is this strategic messaging shaped carefully by political advisors? Consider the subtle nuances, the solemn expressions, carefully selected phrases, even the camera angles capturing his every move. Are these spontaneous moments of human compassion or calculated acts designed to bolster political capital? It's uncomfortable to question sincerity during such vulnerable moments, but when lives hang in the balance, authenticity matters deeply. In tragedies, people don't simply need powerful words, they need reliable promises and swift action. As observers, we must listen carefully, not just to what leaders say, but to what their actions reveal. Because compassion isn't scripted, empathy can't be choreographed. It emerges naturally, spontaneously. Today, as President Trump stands amidst shattered lives, we must discern carefully whether his presence reflects true heartfelt concern or a meticulously staged narrative. After all, sincerity isn't something we hear, it's something we feel. Today, more than ever, the images we see shape our perceptions and emotions profoundly. Media lenses capture moments, framing narratives that define how we perceive leadership in crisis. Right now, as President Trump navigates flood-ravaged streets, shaking hands with survivors, his every move becomes a story interpreted differently by each network, each headline shaping a separate reality. Are these compassionate interactions being portrayed honestly or selectively spun into political theater? Conservative channels highlight Trump's gestures as heartfelt and decisive leadership, focusing on comforting embraces and decisive promises of federal relief. Yet, more critical outlets cast suspicion, suggesting carefully crafted optics, questioning sincerity behind the televised empathy. Caught in the crossfire are real victims, families mourning profound loss, seeking genuine hope rather than political narratives. How media portrays leadership during tragedy affects us all. It shapes our trust, our hope, our cynicism. Today, each photo and soundbite carries the power to uplift or deepen the despair felt by a grieving nation. As we watch coverage unfold, let's remain mindful that behind these competing narratives stand ordinary people who simply yearn for real compassion, people whose suffering should never become collateral damage in a media battle for influence. There comes a moment in every tragedy where the cameras turn off, the headlines fade, and all that's left is the quiet pain of those who lived through it. It's in that silence we find the truth, not in what was said, but in what was done. Real leadership shows up when no one's watching. It's not a performance, it's a promise kept, a hand held long after the crowd has moved on. When disaster strikes, we shouldn't have to wonder whether compassion is real. We should feel it plainly, honestly, in the way help arrives, in the way people are seen, heard, and helped, not just remembered for a photo op. The question isn't whether politics can coexist with compassion. It's whether we're willing to demand more than polished statements and choreographed visits. We have the power to shape the expectations. We set the tone. Because if we stop demanding authenticity, we can't be surprised when it disappears. So let's keep asking the hard questions. Let's hold every leader accountable, not just for what they say, but for what they do when the spotlight dims. And if this message resonates with you, like it, share it, and subscribe.